some people were getting a little frustrated with the cool, wet spring we're having, so this should suit them well, I guess. But things are going to start taking off from here, that's for sure. All right, Don, how you doing? Hey, Denal, good to see you out there. Thanks for joining us from the field. I know it's a busy time. Don, are you good with the roll call or not? Still working on it. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, I've got everybody checked off who signed in so far. I'll continue as people sign in. There's Lindsay. Yep. Okay.
Cool.
I'm good for now, Dave. Yep.
Okay, great. We don't have a particularly long meeting today, and we want to talk about, we want to obviously reserve time like we always do for folks to chime in with what's going on in the communities throughout the county. And maybe we can get a little deeper into some of that stuff because we'll probably have time. Before we do, we have the meeting minutes from last month rather. Any comments or changes that we need? Great. I'll take a motion and a second to adopt.
I'll make that motion to accept.
Thanks, Steve.
I second.
Thank you, Matthew. So if anyone is opposed, please make yourself known. Great. The minutes are adopted. And so the first item, of course, as it will be, I think, for the foreseeable future, is the climate action planning process. We had our second call with we're calling it the CAP committee, I believe, which is, we can share the list of members again with folks, but it's a great group of people, which, Don, I don't know if we have that listed out anywhere specifically.
Yeah.
We could recount it, but we had our second meeting, which was focused on the RFP and the scope of work for the consultant that we'll be looking for to help us develop the plan, do stakeholder outreach, and write the plan. We have made a couple rounds of edits on that document internally in that group, and we're working on one more. We had a nice discussion on a few key points. We're working on one more set of revisions, which we hope to get done by mid-month. Here we go. So it's Supervisors Knott and Adams and Collins, and Patrice Perry, Don, me, Ray Jerkowski. He's the head of Department of Public Works. Is that his title?
Yes.
Don?
Yeah, he's the county engineer. Yes.
County engineer. Wendy Madsen, head of solid waste, who most folks know one way or another, who was our, for a little while, helping with the task force directly before Don as the coordinator. Mike Tucker from CDC, Terrence from CLC, Michael O'Hara representing the EMC, a lot of C's, and Will Yandick, the farmer. So it's a great group, and people are leaning in. I'm excited to work with that group. So the plan is to have the RFP finalized from this group's perspective, the committee, the CAP committee, by mid-month, and at that point, we'll share it with this larger group, the task force. We don't really want wordsmithing edits at this point. It's just too many cooks in the kitchen. But if there are larger conceptual points that you want to make or things you think are lacking, we welcome that. We really would love your input on that. And we'll try to incorporate those comments by the end of the month or so. And Don, maybe you can quickly outline the process from that point forward for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. So
thanks.
Let's see. The other window I have is sure. So here's the timeline. So we are, June is hopefully sometime in during the month of June, we will get the contract finalized with DEC. There is a little back and forth with that, I don't know how many times it will go back and forth. Hopefully it won't be too many, but sometime in June, we'll have the contract done, our agreement with DEC on what we're going to do, our work plan and budget, and a few other things, a few other documents that they need from us. We're also working on the RFP right now. So the goal is to sometime hopefully early July, but sometime in July, send out the completed RFP to prospective consultants or organizations, and receive some responses sometime mid-August. Then there's there are time gaps between, we have to discuss pros and cons of each proposal we receive, score them, select our selected consultant, then generate a contract with them between us and the county. So hopefully sometime in November or December, we will have a signed contract with a potential consultant and begin work in earnest beginning of 2026. And it's a time intensive, process just to pick a consultant. And, the timeline may seem like it's rather long, but as I've said a few times, the consultants I've talked to are not ready to start until 2026 anyway, right? There's just a tremendous amount of work out there from the folks that I've talked to, and they are not taking on any new jobs until 2026 anyway. Plus, from my experience, usually start with some kind of a public participation, like a kickoff meeting, surveys, generating some input from the stakeholders on what the plan is going to look like right off the bat. And the ideal time to do that is actually after the holidays are over. You don't want to start that November and December.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get the, enough participation from stakeholders and whatnot. So really I think that's a good timeline for us to work with. I know it's longer than some folks prefer, but I think it works. I actually think it works out fine. It'll be a good time to start on our plan. And from there, it's the typical work plan that I think some of you have already seen before, going through the process of actually developing a plan from there on.
Great. Thanks, Don. Think about it this way. We're going to have a plan probably by mid 2027. That's a long time, right? We started, I don't know, when did we establish the task force? I don't know, 2020, 2019? I don't even remember. But, we've done a lot of good work, the clean energy stuff, some of the low-hanging fruit, and we'll get a little update on that later. We've certainly engaged the community. We've done the climate carnivals. But this is really taking it to another level. And I don't see the plan as the product and the purpose. I see the plan as the mechanism for an ongoing process. So what we do next year with the outreach and with the prioritization and the analysis and digging in, we're doing it in service of a plan that will be a document, that will be a final product, but it really isn't about the final product. It's about that process. So we're engaged in action planning from the start. We're not starting the action planning process or any of the work at the middle of 2027 when we have a plan and somehow, divine from on high, we will then take that and bring it into the world. We're actually doing that now. And so the plan is successful only if it engages the community in a meaningful way and in a diverse, with diverse stakeholder representatives. It moves the dial with people's understanding of the issues and the potential solutions and some of the co-benefits of those solutions for the community. That a lot of that outreach and education we haven't really done in earnest, and this will be a way. Everyone is doing it in their communities, for sure, but this is another way of doing that from the county level in a more structured way. That buy-in is the prerequisite to any of these actions becoming hot topics, becoming important priorities for people in the community. We can say whatever we want about what the priorities are in a document, but if they're not borne out in the world, it's meaningless. So I think we really need to think about the planning process as the exciting part, not the product that we're getting to. The product is the barometer. It's the way we measure. It's the moment in time that we will then move forward 5 years and do it again. But that process, for this to work, it needs to be a lived process that continues. So that's how I'm thinking about it in terms of what we're doing in the next year and a half. Like when we have a stakeholder meeting with a bunch of farmers and we're explaining a bunch of topics and we're getting into it in depth, that's the process. That's the point. That's the work. When, you know, what comes out of that is hopefully the benefit of all that work. You know, so there's going to be a lot of that. Brenda.
I was just going to add, I agree with that, but I also think that we're establishing a culture of doing this work, of engaging the community on a regular basis. And that culture will then lead to further education and engagement.
Totally. And the other thing we're doing is we're setting a planning process in place that will continue. So right now, the CDRPC, they're the ones doing the greenhouse gas inventory we're going to use for the community inventory, and Don and the planning department are doing the government inventory. The data for some of those are a little dated. We've got, by the time we use the CDRPC inventory, it's 2022 data on emissions. At first I thought, oh, that's kind of dated if our plan comes out in 2027. But it doesn't really affect it too much, because we're going to move forward with another planning process that's going to probably start, you know, 3 years later in 2030, in an effort to update the plan in 2032. So every 5 years or so. Maybe we don't do it every 5 years, we do it every 6 years, whatever it might be. That cadence will have set with this first plan, and then we'll align the data, we'll update it. So, you know, this is also setting a precedent, like Brenda said, for how we engage the community, but it's setting a precedent for a planning process for the county government to take this on more earnestly and more diligently as part of the core part of their work, which I feel confident will happen because of the benefits to the county and the community that are so evident when you start looking at progress on these actions. And it's so, you know, so that's what we're doing. We're setting into motion something that becomes a core government function that the community is engaged in. All right, enough of that big picture stuff. Any other thoughts on the timing or anything that we've discussed so far on the scope of work? Tom.
Yes, is it possible to get the scope of work you sent out for this RFP?
Yeah, like I said, we will share it when we're finished with it might be in the folder, which you might have access to. We're not trying to hide it, but we don't really want people to take a close look at it until we're finished as this CAP committee with getting our full set of edits in there. And then at that point, we would invite everyone from this task force to take a look and provide us with big picture comments, not wordsmithing, unless there's something glaring that we've missed. That's just an error. But we're not looking to like rephrase things. We're looking to capture things that are missing, that are kind of core, or ideas that maybe aren't included in there that should be, or some question about how we've characterized a concept that needs clarification. Those are the kinds of comments that we are looking for, or we will be. We expect to have that out probably in the next couple of weeks, Tom, and then hopefully we can get comments back from folks, by early July.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Don.
Yeah, I did add everyone on the task force as a viewer to the CAP Google Drive folder. I don't know if you got an email that you should have gotten an email that said that, but you can view all of the documents pertaining to the CAP. And let's see, Kara wanted to see if we, and I can send a timeline directly out. I don't have a problem with that. That's just so you know, it is a draft, especially when it comes to the consultant part of the work. You know, we're kind of leaving that open. It's just a rough guideline. Once we hear back, once we choose a consultant, they will probably propose a more detailed timeline of when they're going to do what. So just kind of keep that in mind too. Dan,
Okay,
I just got to hand something off here.
no problem.
Thank you. Okay. So also, Dave, you had asked, I don't know if you got my text right after you called me on the phone, but I have I did find the GHG inventory, regional inventory on the CDRPC website. So I included a link to
Right.
that in the chat here. So there is a way that you can go into that inventory. So right now I have it set up for Columbia County, looking at the town of Greenport, and you can download just your municipality's data for 2022. So
Right.
it's a little convoluted how you have to go through that. But if you have any problems, if you want to do that for your town, just let me know, and I can. If you have any problems with it, I could probably do it for you.
That looks like that also has the ability to look back at the comparison to the first,
Yes.
the one 10 years ago, which is the kind of the contrast is what's important here,
Yeah.
and the trajectory of change. So that's helpful. It will be really helpful when we expect in September, the CDRPC is expected to release the regional CAP that they've been working on, which is in conjunction with this inventory. And that will be helpful for us to say, this is a model of what a CAP looks like. That's regional, so it's a little bit different. It includes areas that are urban, like Albany, with a bunch of actions and discussions on things that are not really relevant to our county, but still the structure and a lot of the concepts are there for what we'll be doing. We also have, I believe in the CAP folder, you've got some examples, some other counties, right, Don?
Mhm. Yep.
So you can look through that too, if you want to familiarize yourself with what that CAP looks like at a county level. I know some of you have done some maybe more cursory ones at the local level. And so that might be helpful. From September through the end of the year, when that's released, it will be helpful for this group and for the task for the subcommittee, the land use subcommittee in particular, to dig in and start looking at that and what we're thinking about how we expect our county CAP to take shape, because we'll have an opportunity early on in the process, this group particularly, to engage with the consultant and really have a Q&A on what topics are how we're going to handle the process, how we're going to handle the outcome. So the more conversant we all are, the more the participation will be meaningful. That's really all I can think of at this point on the CAP. There's not much more to say. Okay, so we wanted to do a quick update on the CEC program, the Clean Energy Communities Program, Don, and then we're going to shift it over to partner and local updates.
Yeah, again, not too much of an update there. I did participate in an interview with a consultant that NYSERDA had hired to reach out to some of the communities to find out what our thoughts were on the CEC program. It seems, they're doing their due diligence here. It's taken an awful lot of time to get this CEC program sort of reinstated or up and running again. I was kind of hoping that it would happen a little quicker than it has. But I provided some feedback from Columbia County's perspective on what we did and the benefits of the program. So, I'm sure it is going to, happen again, but still no word on when that's going to happen. And then as far as the county projects, we're still working on the installing the heat pumps on the county courthouse. We have 4 more EV ports to get up and running also at the county courthouse. And we are waiting for the clean energy audit of 401 State Street to be finished before we can actually apply for using some of our grant money towards some upgrades for this building here. So those are the 3 things that we're kind of waiting for at the county level.
Great. Thanks, Don. Brenda?
I just wanted to pop back to the CEC program. Do we know what the, I'm sorry about that. Just one sec. Do we know, I know that the CDRPC has been rehired to be a consultant to Columbia County and some of the local townships. Do they have any idea what the CEC funding program might look like? Have we checked in with Tara?
They might have some idea, but I'm sure they're not sharing that with us. That's one of those things that'll probably just come directly from NYSERDA. If
Okay.
I'm sure they do have some ideas of what it's going to look like, but they're not the ones that are going to let the cat out of the bag,
Well, I've participated in a couple of those interview sessions like you, and I think my concern is that the program seems to be moving in a direction where they want to get more bang for their buck. So it may be less accessible to smaller communities. The access may be less and the funding may be less. So I'm just hoping that we can keep beating that drum so that we will have the same kind of access and the same kind of support we've had in years past.
Yeah. Matt?
Don, I just had a question. Is there going to be another meeting where we can give feedback to Tara about the CEC? If and when it's reinstated, is there more, or should I just email her and give her what my experience has been?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to send her an email. I haven't heard anything else. I think they are reaching out directly to municipalities. I don't, they called me. I didn't call them. So I was assuming that they would call some of the local towns and villages too. So if they haven't,
no, they have. Tara's pretty receptive. Yeah, I'll email her directly. But our project manager for our solar project here has changed hands so many times, and so it's kind of like a flaw in the program because we have to update this person. I mean, yeah, it's just something to talk about. So great.
Okay.
Great. Don, do you have any feedback from folks, or have you heard anything about the electric cars? The county cars and the chargers and charging stations?
No. So I think no news is good news. No one's complaining. They're just driving them as if they are normal everyday cars as they should. So yeah.
Good. No news is good news. Well,
I did hear from my daughter works for the health department, and apparently it was left with one of them was left at low charge, and they barely made it back to the building with with 0% left charge. So you do have to keep, I try to emphasize, if you're parking them next to a plug, just plug it in anyway, no matter how much is left in it, just so it's, so there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but I haven't heard anything negative about them.
Cool. All right. Well, so any update from CLC? Terrence? I don't know if you're on, Terrence.
Terrence isn't on. He notified that he wasn't going to be able to be here today.
Kara Boyle, I don't know if Elizabeth, you were involved in the conic planting, I know, and I don't know if you guys want to do a quick update with any of that.
Yeah, Betsy, I think you were going to talk about the conservation planning group that we have at CLC. Did you want to talk about that?
I could, but I did just, Terrence isn't here today. He did ask us to remind everybody to take a look at the countywide conservation plan survey and get that, if you haven't already, to some input on that, and also to alert you and remind you that there's a town hall event on July 19th from 10 to 12 at Columbia Green. I think I was a couple minutes late. Maybe Don mentioned that already, but we told him we'd call that to everybody's attention.
And it would be, it would be great if everybody could really try to find any way they can to distribute the survey and encourage people to fill it out. And then also attending that town hall, it's meant for the whole community. And we mean everybody in the community. We want as much feedback as possible. So if there's ways we have flyers and we have email versions of it. If there's whatever would make it easier for you all to share with your local town committees, but also with your neighbors and your friends. I posted it on Facebook. I'm sending it around on a listserv over in Cope, because we really do want to hear from as many people as possible in the entire community. That would be great. And Don, you have the link to it, right? I think you have the information from it.
Yeah.
For it. Yeah. Sorry, Betsy.
No, don't be sorry. And what is it that you just wanted me? You want me to recap on the tree planting event, or?
Sure. I mean, it was a big event that CLC and the town of Taconic were working on and are working on, and it's exciting. And I think whoever wasn't there would benefit from an update, just to kind of keep it in people's minds that it's a big project out there that's happening.
Yeah, sure. So we had a big tree planting on the 17th. We had over 80 volunteers show up. We had a very ambitious task of trying to get 700 trees in the ground. And according to the CLC's counting methods, we got about 1,200 in. Then we had a follow-up planting a couple weeks later, and we got a few hundred more in, and the rest are in sort of a holding pattern, cold storage kind of thing until the fall, when we want to try it one more time and get the balance of the trees in. On the CLC website, there's a link where folks, if they're interested in filling out an application to serve on a committee to help management of the community forest, as well as applications for forest stewards. So that's going to be over the summer. I think we're going to try to form that management committee sometime in the fall. The property hasn't actually been purchased yet, but that's due to happen in probably the upcoming weeks, Kara?
Yep. It's imminent.
It's imminent, yes. So a lot of enthusiasm, and things are unfolding really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, this is a totally new thing. There is a community forest up in Rensselaer, right on, I forget which town, I'm totally drunk. Maybe it's New Lebanon, but this is a brand new thing for the county, and it's really great that Columbia County is doing this as a joint effort with the public. Again, this is all about getting the public involved and understanding the importance of having this place that we all have to take care of. And I think it'd be great for everybody to, if anybody has any questions about it and wants to know more, you can check out the website, but you can feel free to email me or Betsy, and we're happy to pass along any questions we can't answer to CLC and the town.
Yeah, and one other thing that would be worth mentioning to this group of folks is that, as Kara said, we're trying to get as many communities involved in this, communities of people, not just, particular towns. It's always the same folks showing up for the same kinds of events, and we're trying to figure out how to hit a broader audience. One of the things that we've been talking about is reaching out to schools, seeing if we can get local kids and their families involved, that kind of thing. But if anybody has any thoughts on how there are other groups that might not be reached the way that we are currently addressing this, we'd love to hear from you. If someone had a suggestion on how we could connect with some other group of people that maybe we're missing, that don't get involved in these kind of things, we'd love to hear from you.
Indeed.
Indeed. Okay. Don.
Yep. Just want to, Laura Canamella from Valatia wasn't able to be here today, but she did send me a little email update from her village. Said that her works scheduled around the volunteer work days planned at River Street Park. May 17th, they planted about 240 saplings in the park, and they had a good downpour about an hour after they planted them. So hopefully they'll be, they'll survive. And their last spring work day at the park is scheduled for June 21st. That's an update from them. I've also mentioned that Bill Mancini has resigned from the task force, so we have an opening for the village of Kinderhook. Sad to see him go, but
Yeah, he's great.
Sorry, distracted. Yeah, it's sad to see him go. Bill is great. Send him a note. Tell him you think he's great, because I'm sure he'd appreciate that. Who doesn't like that? Is there anything from the Capital Region Clean Energy Hub? Christina, I don't know if you're on.
Christine's not here. Nope. I think Lindsay was on from Cornell.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just had issues with my headphones today. Not too many updates, but we do have a couple events. Silva Pasture Field Day, which is Thursday, July 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. You can register online at our website. And then we still have 2 other parts of our 3-part series for our outdoor mushroom farming series. June 26th and July 17th are the 2 dates.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit more, Lindsay, about the Silva Pasture Field Day?
That one, I am actually not involved in. My coworker Ashley is, but looking at this, it's we're learning about the climate smart farming with trees, livestock, carbon benefits, and funding resources. So it should be a little bit of everything. I'm looking for a location. Here we go. Gansvort Farm. So in Germantown, 1827 Route US 9. It looks like it's a part of the Scenic Hudson and the Sunset Consulting LLC. Going to be a little bit of a collaboration. And it is a pay what you can sliding scale. So $10, $15, or $20, your choice. And I'm looking for hours, 5 to 7.
Great. Can you maybe send that to Don, and he can send that around to everyone, and then we can try to get it out to our networks as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Help you. And any other kind of announcements that you think you're trying to get people for, we can do that. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I think I might go too.
And we're working with Tracy Testo, we meaning Arthur's Point Farm, different hat, on a workshop that we're going to be doing here in September, looking at reforestation examples and maybe some other, maybe some riparian restoration work as well. But that hasn't been set yet, so more to come on that. Okay, great. So that's CCE. Anything else, Lindsay?
Not at the moment. Just I guess internally we just finished our MOSCAP training, which involves if you're all familiar with NAC, but also some of the DOT protocols as well as WRI, and there's another one I'm missing at the moment, but putting them all together for a more complete picture of the stream and culvert assessments.
All right. Tracy came by the farm the other day and said she had been at a culvert training that day.
That was it.
But yeah. Important stuff. Apparently, a lot of culverts were repaired so rapidly after the Hurricane Sandy and all the damage there that there's some kind of slapdash repairs that were done that really need to more of a long-term solution. That's what she was saying. That was interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. With that said, let's local task force. What's going on? Any other local activities, announcements, big protests happening, anything at all?
Yeah, I'll just mention that Stuyvesant received, I think I mentioned this before, that we had pre-notification that we were going to get an estuary program grant for doing a natural and cultural resources inventory at the town of Stuyvesant. It was pre-notification, so we weren't allowed to talk about it or do a press release or anything like that, but now it's been announced, so we're official. I'm just wanting to tap into the expertise of this group. I've looked at their instructions, and I think at this point we're waiting for official letter of notification from them. We have not gotten that. But when that happens, then we can start trying to develop an RFP and go through the steps in our process. But I haven't heard from them, and neither has the town or the other person that wrote the grant with me. Anybody have an experience here about what I should do next? Should I reach out to them?
Kathy, is Dylan Chapowski on your team? Have you talked to him?
No.
Soil and Water.
No, I haven't talked to him.
He did our natural NRI for our town, and he's pretty familiar with the process. Maybe you should reach out to him.
Okay, I know him, so I can do that. It just seems that there's long periods of time when nothing happens here, so.
There always are.
Was it a DEC grant?
It's the Hudson River Estuary Program.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
DEC.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with.
It's a land stewardship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For what town, Catherine? I'm sorry, what town?
Stuyvesant. Town Stuyvesant.
Oh, okay.
We haven't done one of these before. We haven't had one of these grants before, so, I mean, this is all new. So
That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
I'm here in Germantown, so I'm curious to hear how this develops because we applied for that. I don't think we didn't get it, so I'm curious to see how it goes. So keep us updated.
Okay.
Thanks, Catherine. Matt?
So yeah, Germantown tomorrow opens bids for our long gestating solar array on our salt shed. Our town stepped up because we have to install a new national grid meter because there's no electricity. But they're looking forward because they anticipate getting electric vehicles in the past. So I guess we've had some kind of a cultural impact on the town because that blew my mind that they're going to install the meter no matter what. So even if we don't get any bids tomorrow, we're getting a new meter, anticipating getting electrical vehicles for our town. So that's a piece of good news that I just wanted to share. So hopefully we'll be able to get a larger array. It's going to be a small array, depending on the bids that we get, but hopefully it'll be something that we can add to as the years go forward. So,
Matthew, did you have to get a transformer update?
The transformer update. So no, we're putting in, I don't know exactly, you mean so we had a whole thing with our transformer. We're not going to dig across to connect to the transformer. It's going to be a whole new meter. So they explained it to me how they're going to do it, but I don't think we're going to have to update it. Is that have you talked to?
We just finished the installation of solar panels on our highway garage, and we bid it through, I don't know, 4 or 5 different vendors replied to the RFP, and not one of them mentioned the fact that we were going to have a transformer upgrade. So we did. We in the end we worked with with NYSERDA to get the upgrade, and but it just took a little more time. That's all.
Yeah. That's exactly what delayed our project because we were unaware of, we were just the volunteers. We had no idea that was a thing. We would have put it on our public works garage, but the roof leaks because we had a lousy contractor from years ago. So, that's the one note that I gave to Tara in terms of the NYSERDA guidance. Like, you have to assume that we're volunteers and we know nothing about electricity and none of this stuff. So yeah, that was a huge, that was a huge setback, that kind of stuff. So, but no, I don't think we're going to have to do an update. Don't quote me on that, but I'll keep you updated. So.
Okay, thanks.
That's all. Yep.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Elizabeth.
That happened in Taconic as well. When we put solar on our highway garage, we had
Right.
a month, maybe 3-month lag before we actually had the electrical upgraded to what it needed to be. I just wanted to mention that, we've been working for a couple of years now on our beaver deceiver project, and it looks like next month we're actually going to be installing the first one. So we're very excited about that.
Can you tell us more about that? That sounds interesting.
Well, the idea is that we have a number of roads that are frequently flooded because the beavers are doing what beavers do. And the guys are always going down and clearing the culverts out and, dismantling beaver dams and all those things. And the beavers just keep coming back and doing what they do. So it costs the town a lot of money to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So we're working with a group, Beaver Strategies. They're going to install a device in the waterway in one of the areas where a culvert is frequently blocked up by beavers. And it fools the beavers into thinking that there is an area about, I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like when it's installed, but maybe 10 or 15 feet away from the actual culvert. And the beavers, I won't go into the whole big long explanation of how it works, but the beavers try to dam up a different area in front of the culvert so that the culvert remains free for water to flow through.
Are you installing an underwater camera so we can all watch this? Because it sounds awesome.
I'm working on a grant for that, Kara. So, we're just going to sit on the shore and watch them.
What's the company called that your Beaver Strategies?
Beaver Strategies, Dan Atchison, who's been really, really great. I will say he's a really busy guy. He's got a lot of other things going on. He's down in Westchester, but he's just been a real pleasure to work with, although things are taking a long time. The permitting process went really quickly. We had a lot of support from the state, which I was really happy about. Apparently here in District 4, the folks are very supportive of this type of thing.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and you don't have to kill the beavers anymore, which is what speaks to my heart.
Yeah, that's great. We need a beaver cam though. So can you work on that?
All right, I'll work on a beaver cam.
All right. It'll get some hits to our website if we can put a beaver cam up. I mean, we'll actually get some people to visit, I bet. Okay. Anything else? We want to talk about the July meeting. Brenda?
I just want to say quickly, I don't think Will is on the call. We did complete the installation of solar panels on our highway garage, which will provide enough capacity for both the highway garage and our town hall heat pumps, which we're very excited about. And we did work with Columbia County Soil and Water to get a grant for invasive species removal. We're going to be mechanically removing water chestnut from the Stoddard Pond. And to Elizabeth's point, DEC was very helpful in getting the right permits and showing up quickly and being supportive of this effort. So
nice. Great. Okay. So we may have an opportunity to, by the July meeting would be on July 3rd. The only real agenda item at that point, other than these updates, might be that we have, we could have a short meeting. The only thing I can think of that we'll need to do at that point is maybe get a discussion going on the RFP, the scope of work. If there are any comments from people, that might be easier for folks than reading it well, you got to read it either way, but then submitting written comments. We could do that. We could have that meeting on the 3rd. It's and I think we should, and that kind of gives us we're planning on it, but other than that, we don't really have any agenda items for July. So it would be a short meeting, and I think that gives us a bit of a deadline, Don, to try to get this RFP at a place where the CAP committee feels like it's ready for feedback from the task force. What do you think, Don?
I'll be here that day, but I know it's the day before 4th of July, so.
Well, I'll be here.
Yeah.
So if folks aren't here, we understand. We're not going to hold it against you, but it's going to be a fun time. So I would imagine everyone's going to make time to be here.
Just say there'll be a beaver dam, and then we'll be
There'll be a
footage. And
beaver
we'll be
dam. We're going to unveil the beaver
fine.
Okay, Tom Sawyer, we hear you over there.
America's funniest home videos for beavers. That's what I want.
I'll be around, so I'll be here.
All right. So Don and I and the CAP committee will work on getting that out as soon as we can to folks, and it'll be a short meeting, I'm sure. Okay. Well, if there's anything else, let us know. And in the meantime, keep planting.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.